Looking Chevrolet right onto the back of the Capri. Qualifying in the top 15 is part of this, but they're racing drivers. They want to win, and Jake is going to be under big pressure, but let's see how he's going to be able, if he can at all, fend off the grunt and go Chevrolet that lines up for a look on the inside into Madrick. Jake able to fend him off, but they're absolutely nose to tail now for the race lead.
Yeah, and I think this is where Jack Tetley is going to get a run on the way up to Ford Water. He's going to force Jake Hill through the water splash this time. Jake having to take the defensive inside line, but it's not enough. Jack has just enough of an advantage. They are literally bumper to bumper on the way through the dip. And now Jack's got the move completed on the run into St Mary's.
Yeah, it didn't take Jack Tetley long, did it? But of course the weather conditions now much more favourable for the big V8 American yak tank. The Chevrolet goes ahead of the Ford Capri, but of course now Jack Tetley is the man feeling the pressure. Jake Hill doing the chasing rather than being chased. In theory, Jack Tetley should get away, and Craig Davis, third, ought to be able to catch the sideways Capri as well. We've still got half the race to go, so now suddenly 3 litres doesn't look like enough, does it?
No, and you could see from just how sideways Jake Hill got there, getting on the power out of Lavant. He put just one tyre up onto the painted surfaces.
Down the order, not quite sure why, but he's definitely ahead of many of those names. So there's a little glitch in the system there, but through goes Jake Hill. Now he's dropped half a second back, but he's just done the fastest lap of the race, perversely. So now that he's chasing, Jake's got something to focus on, and it's almost helping him.
That's fascinating. I'd love to know where that time came from, because it looked like Jack Tetley had at least a second per lap advantage in his pocket. But they're both now within a tenth of each other for the fastest lap of the race. So if Jake can just hang on, and you can see he's absolutely wringing the neck of the Capri, but beautifully balanced, just getting enough of a drift to help steer the car, not so much of a drift that you need to lift off and lose momentum to control it.
So Jake Hill presses on, comes now through the right-hander of Lavant, and he has got back onto the tail of the Chevrolet. So, yeah, now Jack Tetley, rather than focusing on the car that he's chasing, you're having to look in his mirrors all the time. And we touched on this a lap or so ago as the side window starts to peel out of the Chevrolet. Chasing, perhaps easier than being chased.
And there you can see the horsepower advantage that Jack Tetley has up ahead, having been bumper to bumper, as we just watch somebody getting a little wide on the edge of Woodcote.
Sean Hollenby, who remember tagged one of the Fabergé liveried Capris earlier on. Right, here are the leaders out of the chicane with 8 minutes on the clock. Doesn't time fly? Jack Tetley leads, but Jake Hill has not given up yet as he goes over the timing line. Jake's second-generation racer, Jack, second-generation racer. They dive now into the right of Madrick. The immaculate Ford Capri, built into a racer of late against the period Chevrolet.
Fantastic to watch that Capri just dancing through the quicker corners, just nudging the inside curve there at St Mary's. That will have just kicked the car ever so slightly wide. He won't have lost too much time. And I think it's through these tighter corners down at Lavant, through the chicane, that Jake will have a little bit of an advantage over the lack of panic at the wheel there.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Cool as a cucumber.
All under control. Yeah. Through the chicane there, Jack Tetley versus Jake Hill. It's been a great cat and mouse battle between the two of them here. Jake not giving up yet. The Chevrolet Camaro goes through ahead of the Ford Capri. Now, back markers up the road. This might just...
the fastest corner on the circuit, Ford Water. I expect it's flat in top for these guys. We just leave Steve Soper because the lead battle is hotting up. Jake Hill almost pushing Tetley's car out of Lavant onto the straight. And that proves where the cars have their respective advantages. Hill is faster in the Capri through the tighter corners. Tetley is faster on the long lengths of the straight.
Absolutely. So this is where Jake can possibly break a little bit later, where he can be perhaps a little bit braver coming into the chicane. Look, it's sideways, but it's all under beautiful control down towards the chicane itself. Again, he can break later. So Capri closes right up. Jake Hill gets a sniff of a lead and actually darts to the outside of the Camaro, but now all the grunt should kick in. Jack Tetley has the inside line down towards Madrick. Jake Hill on the outside line there, can't quite get level, dives into the corner. He's applied with pressure all the time, trying to force a mistake out of Jack. He wants him to go wide. 5 minutes are on the clock. The two cars dance their way onto the back straight. Tetley's all sideways. He hangs on to it, but here comes Jake Hill on the outside line there. The Capri tries to level with the Chevrolet. They dive now through Ford Water. There's barely any room between them at all, but Jake Hill keeps on coming on the inside line. The gap disappears. Fantastic racing.
Oh, absolutely stunning stuff, and this is exactly what Hill needs to do. He needs to keep the pressure on. He needs to keep Jack Tetley's rear view mirror full of that blue Chitin livery Capri and force Tetley into a mistake, because the horsepower advantage is not something he can overcome without a mistake from Tetley. But Jake Hill driving beautifully, as is Tetley, it has to be said. Beautiful driving from both of them.
Jake's father, Simon Hill, regular racer himself in the 1990s, and when you watch the way that he raced and you watch the way that Jake races, we do often wonder who the milkman was. Jake doing a really, really good job here. The gap at the end of the previous lap was a tenth of a second. Down they come towards the right at Woodcote. He's not given up yet then, because he's going to squeeze another at least 3 laps, I would have thought, out of this. Certainly 2. Down to the chicane they come, turn right, turn left. You can see the work being put in there by Jack Tetley, whereas Jake Hill just flicks the Capri through, comes out that little bit nearer, over the timing line they go together, and the margin 0.3 of a second with 3.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, the Camaro, much harder, isn't it, to get it to change direction. Huge armfuls of steering input and then counter steering from Tetley to get it through the switchback of the chicane. But he's had a clean run through Madgewick now. He can just concentrate, settle down. Needs to also just give the tyres a break, and probably for Jake as well. Those rear tyres will be getting very hot, very high in pressure, and the higher that the tyre pressure goes, the more grip at the rear that you lose.
But Jake Hill absolutely on the limit going into the first part of St Mary's, closing the gap, back marker up the road, and it's another of the Chevrolets. Look, it's David Clark's Spa 24-hour pole sitting Bastos Chevrolet that they're going to get past, but there Jack Tetley slightly delayed. Jake Hill has arrived right on his tail as they come then now down towards Woodcote, but again in a straight line. Bye-bye. So Jack Tetley in the gap's going to start to stretch.
Absolutely, and David Clark doing his absolute best just to stay out of the leader's way there. Didn't do anything wrong, stuck to his line and left it a little bit wider through the second part of Lavin, but that in turn forced Tetley onto the inside, not the regular, not the optimum line through Lavin, and that is why he was balked, allowing Jake Hill in the Capri Sheen on the left-hand side of the road there. What he wants is for those two to hold each other up as we rejoin this lead battle still raging.
Not often you can think of a Ford Capri as being underpowered, but against the Chevrolet, it is Jake Hill's skill that is keeping that car in the mix, because wherever he can wring a little bit more out of it, he will do so. He's trying to apply the pressure all the time to Jack Tetley. They're going to start the last lap this time. Now, on the one hand, they just need to be in the top 15 to qualify, but as we said earlier on, they both want to win what has been a really tense battle between the two. And again, Jake Hill comes up to have a go on the outside line, can't do it. He needs to try to force a mistake out of Jack Tetley, get him to move the car around and just miss his line for a corner.
Well, Tetley will be praying for a clean lap to the checker flag, hoping not to catch.
What's going on for the race lead? Here they are, and with Stuart Kai's Capri being lapped, Jack Tetley, I think, has done enough, hasn't he? He's managed to pull away just sufficiently from Jake Hill, but a great battle between the two of them. Let's just get these across the line. Jake kicking up the dirt, kicking up the water out of the puddles. He has thrown everything at that. Jack Tetley's going to come through to win a really lively second heat in the Gerry Marshall Trophy. Jake Hill, does he lift or has he got a problem?